What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Jay, and as you guys know, this is another Talkin Tackle Thursday evening. I hope you guys have been enjoying it so far. So, tonight, actually, no, let me stop there. Tonight, the tackle that we're going to be talking about is going to be the A-rig. And the special guest that we're going to have on tonight's show is going to be Bass Geek himself. Let's get to it, guys. Boop. Have you checked it out yet? To this week, to the 2nd of April, guys, it is the Carl's Spectacle Lure sale. And you know what that means? That means you get some heavy discounts. I'm talking up to 50% off of some of your favorite name brands. And I mean like Guggen, Biospawn, 10,000 Fish, all those great brands. And you know what's cool is if you haven't ever shopped over there, you'll actually get $10 off of your first purchase up to $25+. And for all you guys like me, if you're already making plenty of purchases over there, you actually get $5 credit, store credit, for every $25 that you spend. Guys, you really can't beat this sale. Up to 50% off of those favorite brands. The sale only lasts till the 2nd. So go check them out now. All right, here we are again, guys, another Talkin Tackle. And tonight's guest is Mr. Bass Geek. Take it over for yourselves. Introduce yourself. Tell everybody who you are if you don't already know. But go ahead, take it over.
So my actual name, and most people don't know this, is Hank.
There you go. I was wondering. I was going to get there.
I always say, hey, Bass Geek here. That just kind of happened. You know, it's just weird. But yeah, so I live in, kind of right on the border of Tennessee and Virginia. And actually live on the Virginia side, but fish a lot of Tennessee like this week. Unfortunately, I was supposed to be going to South Carolina to fish Santee Cooper with a buddy, but as he was trying to find the bigs for me, he hit a stump, tore his lower unit up.
No.
So I'll be fishing around Tennessee. I'm gonna try and fish, like South Holston, like really.
Tennessee's got good fish.
Yeah, well, trust me, come fish Northeast Tennessee, you'd change your mind.
Okay.
3 pounders are like the deal here,
Oh, yeah? Oh, wow.
Yeah. There's a lot of smallmouth, like the lake I'm going to, South Holston, I always kind of refer to it as Top Secret Lake S. But it's got some pretty good smallmouth in it.
That'd be a change for me. We don't have many smallmouth here at all in Georgia.
Yeah. So, but you guys got some good spotted bass down there too.
I haven't actually caught a spot yet. That's one of those missions I have this year for sure. I've just been hooked on the largemouth really. But I want to get on a spot, and I want to try to get on a smallmouth, but there's only certain select areas where there's a smallmouth here in Georgia. So I'm hoping at some point, I'm really trying to do one of those bass slams this year. That'd be cool.
Yeah, if you really want to get on some smallmouth, up here from April to May, March to the 1st of May, you're really there's a couple of lakes. One's called Watauga, and one is South Holston. Okay. Now you can come to Cherokee too. You can go catch a lot of them. And you'll catch a lot of 3 pound and unders.
Nice.
The pros fish that lake a lot.
Yeah.
But if you really want to go catch the big ones, those first 2 lakes are your golden ticket. So,
okay, that'd be cool. We'll have to work that out. I always say that one of these days, one of these years, I'm going to end up traveling, especially in the south area, just surrounding states. That would be so cool. And just
I've said that a lot myself too. So and that's finally this year. I'm trying to kind of.
It comes around eventually, right? We'll get there. It's one of those goals. Make it a goal. You make it happen. It's like slowly but surely we'll get there. So, but hopefully,
hopefully the end of this month, I'm actually going back to Dale Hollow, one of my favorite lakes to go fish. So Dale Hollow Lake, which is where the world record smallmouth actually come from.
Oh, cool! I didn't know that. That's cool. That'll be fun. Yeah, I have to keep you posted on that. That should be that'll be a fun adventure.
Yeah, right on the Tennessee, Kentucky border. So
okay, I didn't know that. That's cool.
I'll have to get my Kentucky license too.
Yeah, you always have to end up getting. So it's a bordering state, but they don't recognize That stinks.
They
So
don't
some
like
places
each other.
will recognize it and others don't.
They're bitter enemies, so they're
Yeah.
not gonna.
Well, all right. So tonight, what we're going to be talking about is the A-rig. Is if I didn't know if anybody actually knows. So why the A-rig? I mean, that's something I'm very interested in. And actually, the last video that I did with Weston that just actually dropped on my YouTube channel, and this one's going to be a few videos out, but like I record more. I record my videos more frequently, and then I'm releasing them every Thursday. So it's like it seems like it's much further out. But the one with Weston just dropped. And in that one, we actually challenged each other to start using the A-rig more. And I feel like for me, that's going to be a lot tougher because I fish mainly from the bank. So like I'm always kind of skeptical to use the A-rig because I'm a bank fisherman. So I'm going to have to figure that out. But why do you, what about the A-rig? What is it about the A-rig?
So the A-rig to me, and I'll tell you for you, and especially for bank anglers, there's a company you want to look to. Okay. And I'm not part of this company, have nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
I've tried to get them to send me some free stuff. They hate me apparently because I've caught some really big fish on their A-rigs. But Shane's Baits. So for bank anglers, one of the very first things I can tell you, look into Shane's Baits, look into their finesse rigs. Okay. What's great about Shane's Baits, what I like about them, they're a softer wire, and like we can get into the whole intricacies of it all, a little bit later. But just from a bank angler standpoint, you can also buy some really light heads. Now, I think in Georgia, I think you're allowed as many hooks as you want.
Yeah, right? There's no hook limit here.
Yeah, so one of the great things is the finesse rig, like an A-rig, finesse rig, like
small.
So, yeah, so you can still get the blades, you can still get everything, and just lighten up. Even from the bank, it may be a deal to where instead of putting weight on the top two hooks, you just
put a hook.
Just put a hook up there. Put a hook, put your swim bait up there.
Yeah.
Don't maybe take the swivel off so they're not going to spin around, and so that hook just gives them a little bit of
more like just a stable kind of top.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah,
exactly. That makes sense.
So and just remember when you're fishing think of an A-rig as, and I don't know how much history you have with a spinner bait, but an A-rig is a giant spinner bait.
Basically, that makes sense.
It has more drawing power. Okay. So when you're out there, you do want a little bit of cloud cover, a little bit of ripple on the water.
Some wind.
Yeah, some wind. Wind is your friend. That's right. Same with an A-rig. Same exact thing. Now, here's the difference. But this statement is true yet false.
Okay.
So the thing of it is most people fish exposed hooks on an A-rig, right?
Right.
And that's great because a lot of times what a fish will do is it'll come up and try to run through. This is the part where people love it and hate it, because it is causing a little bit of maybe excess damage, but I mean, no more damage realistically than a jerkbait or a crankbait or anything else that's going to put hooks down the side of the bass, right?
Right.
But a lot of times those fish will run through that school and just try and kill or wound or, some of those bait fish. And so as a buddy of mine always called it, because he wouldn't throw them, he said on the back of the boat when I'd cast, you just see this giant thing coming at you like that. So he called it the eagle claw of death. He's like, you will literally rip all my face off if he catches me. So I was like, well, just pay attention and stay out.
Just don't be there. I'm trying to throw it.
Like, I will cast this way, so don't be back this way.
And I mean, it is pretty big. It's intimidating when you think about it. I mean, an A-rig is probably one of the largest rigs a lot of people are throwing. Maybe not one of the largest in general, but it's one of the largest, especially bass anglers. One of the larger ones that we're throwing out there. So it's pretty intimidating, and that in itself, I think the size is what a lot of people hesitate about when it comes to the A-rig.
Yeah. And that's why I'm saying, start out with that little Shane's Bait finesse rig. Man. It's really tiny, really small. It's still 5 wires.
I have to look that up.
the great thing about it is you can unscrew the head and order more wires. So if you break a wire off, you just order more wires and replace the wire. So it actually saves you a little bit of money too.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, so you can get away with a really small. I mean, you can get away. You could almost, depending on the weight, you can almost throw it on a medium heavy, like a 7.6 rod. You can easily throw it like on your standard flipping setup, something that's 7'6".
Yeah, throw the sizes
heavy.
out there. That's we want to know all the information.
Yeah.
I like to look at these videos, and I mean, I A-rig is one of those ones I really want to learn everything about, but like even on the things that I may know a little bit more about, I like to go over everything, because any of the people who are beginners, who are just starting out, I like to really go over it. So like you said, a medium heavy for the smaller ones, but what about some of the normal size ones?
With a medium heavy for the smaller ones, I would probably, depending on how light a weight, you could probably get away with a medium heavy. I'd probably lean still toward that heavy, fast action, like I said, that kind of flipping stick.
Yeah.
Now from the bank, you probably do want, when we talk about real speeds, because you're going to throw that bait out there, and you got to remember, when I'm fishing from my boat, I'm the exact opposite from a bank. I'm throwing it up shallow, and I'm slowing down as it contours the bank.
Right.
You're fishing the exact opposite.
The opposite.
So if you want to throw out there and maybe hold that rod tip at about a 10 o'clock, sort of, just up just a little bit, enough to where you can still get a hook set, get into that fish, and get them up on the bank. Because you are going to want to keep it out of the bottom of the brush. And, we were talking about a spinner, fishing it like a spinner bait.
Yeah.
You don't want to get it down in the wood. It's so big that it draws. So if you've ever fished a big swim bait, a big odd bait, like 9-10 inches, one of the very first things you'll notice about those is that they pull fish, whether they bite it or not.
Right. They follow them. It definitely, you'll definitely get a follower. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the same thing with an A-rig. You're fishing it over top of cover, pulling the fish up out of it. That's what you want to do. So you don't want to, like with a spinnerbait, you kind of want to bump it,
Right. The thumping power of a spinnerbait, that's a good advantage when you're throwing it along a piece of wood or something. But spinnerbaits are very comparative. They're probably more weedless than you would say an Alabama rig would be.
Yeah. And that's why, so like when I'm fishing even a spinnerbait, like I want to bump the limbs as I'm coming across. Now, you don't want to do that with exposed hooks. You just want to kind of contour it.
Right.
But you can also take belly weighted hooks and throw so that you are more or less prone to get snagged up. So you can still bump it, put on some belly weight hooks. And like I said,
so it gives it the weight, but at a weedless. So like you're saying, a belly weighted hook, which is so funny. I actually bought some of those today, but a belly weighted hook, fish it, hook it like a Texpose, right? Is what you're saying?
There you go. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
A lot of them will come with a little.
So you still get the weight
on them. Exactly.
Okay.
And even from the bank, you may want to put, like honestly, what I would almost recommend from the bank is putting 2 weights on the bottom. So you've got a 5-wire, you've got your main wire on the back. Maybe just put 2 weights, 2 of the smallest weights, like a 3/16 on either side, just to keep it keeled.
Even,
and then just hooks the rest of the way out to keep it light.
Yeah, because you still have that main head of the Alabama rig that's going to weigh you down in that essence too. If you're throwing a full Alabama rig. See, I don't know much. I've just, you look at everybody's typical setup, and it's typically from a boat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, the main head, I'll tell you, on most of them doesn't have any real weight. It's generally, most of them are actually generally either some sort of painted epoxy, or some sort of head. Now, I will say this. I do like a smaller head on my Alabama. Sometimes you'll get them, they'll be those real long heads.
Okay.
I don't necessarily like that too much.
Why is that?
Well, you're already bringing in this bait that has 5 big wires to
big profile
blades. Yeah, it's big profile. So for me, I don't want them to key on that head as much as I want them to key on that bait.
Yeah.
And something else, especially for a beginner, I tell everybody, throw it on mono. Throw it on mono because you're going to get the stretch. If you backlash, the worst thing, and I get argued about this. People hate that I say this, but one of the very first things I tell people all the time, and this is the argument I get. I'm like, I never throw it on braid. And they're like, why not? It's like, you got all these wires.
Well, that's what we want to know why for sure.
So it's not about the visibility of it, but it's about the sound. Any braid, no matter what type it is, what's the sound it makes when it's coming through the eyelet, right?
Yeah, that's true. That was
no matter how smooth. So yeah, sure. If you're fishing a bottom bouncing bait where you're using the tip to move that bait, you're not getting constant sound. You don't have a constant tight line.
Okay.
But I fish a lot of like ultra clear water, right? So like 15, 20, 30 feet visibility.
Wow.
And so I don't want, I know those fish are going to see that wire when it gets there, but I don't want them to know that it's coming. So do you ever see anybody take 2 strings, put them between tin cans, put them up to their ear and talk into them?
Yeah.
What causes that sound to go from one can to the other? Vibration.
Yeah, it vibrates a lot more than anything else.
So if you can feel that vibration in your hand, and you can feel that vibration from the tip, and it's tight when you're bringing it through the water, that vibration is also traveling all the way down that line.
Yeah.
And that line itself is vibrating. What travels farther in water than on land? Sound.
Yeah.
So,
I had never thought about it. I've never thought about braid like that. It makes perfect sense though. I mean, truly and I guess that can apply to anything in a sense if you're really relying on trying to be stealthy. But being a bank angler, my water's always got a little bit of murk to it and things like that. So like sound can be important. But I've never fished 30, you said up to 30 foot of clear water. That's impressive. Oh, yeah. That would be something else to fish for sure.
Now I fish deep. I mean, that's kind of what I'm known for. I'm a deep angler. I'm a network engineer. It's my day job, so I'm a computer geek. Hence where the name Bass Geek comes from.
Geek all around. Yeah.
So, so for me, like during the wintertime, just last month, we're Demiki rigging on South Holston over 80 foot of water. Wow. So, the fish are down that deep.
Wow.
In the guts of some places, smallmouth. So,
wow.
So and it's again super clear, so we have to be super stealthy about it.
Yeah.
But you even hear guys. So if you listen to a lot of the pros and they talk about, even I've started to notice how now a lot of guys are talking about that, forward facing sonar and how the fish begin to get used to feeling that ping of that sonar as you turn toward them, and they begin to react different.
Wow.
So if they can hear that, they can hear that of the braid. Now, like I said, for me, and even in dirty water, like I don't want the fish to come out and investigate out of their hiding spot before that A-rig gets there.
Right. Yeah, you don't want them to come out too soon, because then they're going to see it and they're going to understand what it's attached to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the reason why I don't fish braid. But now, if I'm fishing from the bank, and it's pretty much the same, like I'm going to throw 20-pound test pretty much across the board.
Yeah.
It's going to be 20-pound test mono, especially if you're first starting out. Please throw 20-pound test mono.
Heavier. Okay.
Because if you're throwing an A-rig, it's expensive.
Yep. Yeah. So A-rigs they're one of the more expensive ones. Well, they're up there, and they're one of the bigger ones. So like it's not one you want to lose.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I always say don't throw it right in the middle of a brush pile to start with. Just test it on a plain bank.
Open water.
Yeah. And then most of the time, the great thing about an A-rig is getting it free. There's enough weight that if you don't do what you would traditionally do with a lot of baits and start giving it slack, because what's going to happen is it's going to drop down and more hooks are going to set in.
Yeah.
A lot of times you can just lean on it, pull, and shake it a little bit. Just give it a little bit, and it's got enough weight, it'll beat itself free from that and get it loose a lot of times.
That makes sense. A little hack for anybody who's getting snagged and doesn't know how to get out of it. That's one of those things I really have taken a lot. And being a bank angler, it's one of those, we get snagged a lot. It happens a lot. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I don't know if people really put enough emphasis on how often bank anglers really get snagged. I mean, the other day, I literally got one of the worst backlashes of my life because I was in a tight spot and I knew it was coming. Like, I knew it. I've done it before in the same spot, and it can happen over and over, and you can know. And I had I think it was one of my 7-foot rods or 7.2. It was right there. And I literally went to go and I went full force forward, and the bush was like right here, and the hook of my bait snagged it. And I came forward full force, and it just blew up. And it's like, beyond getting the worst backlashes of your life, you also get snagged a lot. So like, getting snagged is not fun, and it costs a lot of money. So it's always good to know the little hacks. Spend your time, take your time on actually getting them out from being snagged. Don't just give up on it right away. I mean, that's costing you too much money. You should always take your time to try to get it out wherever it is. Yeah.
Especially an A-rig. And like I said, I would really absolutely say, if you're starting out, especially from the bank, just get you those belly weighted hooks. That way you're going to be so much happier. Texas rig all the way around.
That's cool.
Get the belly weight hooks. And like I said, just put those.
Just do 2 of them. That's like genius. I'm going to have to say, I have my whole A-rig set up and I did it all wrong. And, because I've never done it before. I've only thrown it a few times. I think each of my head, I have all heads on there. I should have just done, I've totally messed up. I'm almost ashamed. I don't want to even go.
I
have a lot of weighted heads on there. I have like 5 weighted heads. They're all an 1/8 of an ounce.
That's what you hear. If you watch 90% of my videos, I'm like, okay, I'm using an 1/8 ounce all the way around.
Right.
This and that's from the boat,
From the boat perspective, there is such a difference in bank angling and boat angling. I mean, and I love boat angling too. I've gone out a few times. I love it. And but there's definitely a different aspect of fishing, because it is almost opposite. Because a lot of times, like you said, when you're on a boat, you're fishing towards the bank. And so like your whole cadence coming back is different and everything because you have everything under the water is exact opposite. So
exactly.
But so I'm going to have to try that trick next time now.
Yeah. And as you're fishing uphill, that's what I when you're fishing from the bank, you're fishing uphill all the time. It's so much easier for crankbaits, for jigs, to get hung underneath. If you think about just the way things fall, if I'm fishing downhill from the boat, it's going to fall away from it.
Yeah.
So I'm falling away from the snags, and you're dragging through
upwards. Right.
So that's one of the things I tell people when they start talking about fishing a jig, which is another one of my favorite things, from the bank. Never drag unless you know that it's just a slick bank, a sandy flat.
Like you got to pop it.
Always just, short hops if it's colder or summer, or, but always make sure you're hopping that jig, because, if you don't, you're going to run it.
You're going to drag it onto something. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, it's almost inevitable. It's going to happen. And that's just, that's part of the bank angling life, I guess. That's how that one goes. But I'm going to have to try that all different. I have this other thing I actually got today. I wanted to show you. I don't know if it falls into the A-rig category, but it's smaller. It's called the bait ball.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So
now,
like,
I will tell you this.
Okay.
Those I do like. And it is kind of a mini A-rig.
Kind of, right?
Take those baits that come with it completely off. They suck.
Yeah. Oh, I already had, I've looked at it and I've already gone in my head and thought how I wanted to put more hooks on it. I want a better hookup ratio.
Well, not even the hooks. Just
the baits.
Just put better swim baits on it.
I got you.
Those baits are they're stiff. I mean, they're stiff.
Are they? Yeah, I haven't even opened it yet. I kind of want to do a whole review thing on it. I'm probably going to come out with a video sooner on one of my. I drop these on Thursdays, so I also try to drop on either Sundays or Tuesdays or both if I'm lucky. But I wanted to kind of do a review on this because I thought about how I might start doing, reviews. I don't know. I've, got a lot of ideas been going in my head, going up to Academy, picking out a bait and trying it out and giving it a review or something. But I haven't even touched it yet. But
I love them. Those are great.
Yeah, I was just talking over to the his name's Will. He's over with Jinko, and they have an A rig. It's their J pod. That's actually what I have tied on. And I asked him specifically about a smaller, the mini ones. You know what I mean? And he said he's tried, and that's where it's kind of like you get different aspects. You have some people who are like, I've tried, they don't really work for me, and then you have different people who think that the smaller profiles work. I'm torn. I don't know. I don't really know. I'm going to try those smaller profiles and see what happens and what works. But, apparently there's not much of a niche for smaller profile A-rigs. And I wonder if it's because a lot of bank anglers have really just kind of given up on it in that sense, because you don't know how to rig it. I've never heard anybody say it the way you did about the belly weighted hooks, getting them Texas rigged, because if they're Texas rigged, it makes it a lot less, it makes it more weedless, which for bank anglers is like prime. You need that for bank angling, like you need to be weedless as much as you can from the bank. Because when you're on a boat, even on a kayak, you can go right up to it and let it out.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the thing, I'm always thinking about things like that. That's the kind of stuff that I'm always trying to think about.
Yeah. That technical stuff.
Because and believe it or not, like I like technical stuff.
Me too.
But I don't get over technical.
Right.
I try not. You can overthink things. I used to have a buddy of mine that used to be like, I'd be like, man, I really wished I had this color, and he's like, dude,
overcomplicating it.
Yeah.
I think everybody does that at some point.
It's like I've really got to the point where like I keep it simple to like
keep
5 colors on about everything. So really try to keep my color selection simple. I might throw in, if I find some color that worked that one time, out of 82 tries.
Might as well try it again. That's how I feel kind of about Morning Dawn. You have some guys who swear by Morning Dawn, and I've had Morning Dawn used and work a couple of times, but not as well as like a watermelon or a green, one of those more popular colors, so it's kind of like, what am I really going to be carrying with me as far as you got to think about what's carrying on your back. You got to be able to carry it all in a backpack. I don't have a extensive amount of storage that I can just have with me. So I always got to consider colors and day and fun stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But
I mean,
go for it.
For me, I will tell you, this is the right time to be throwing an A-rig. It's prime A-rig time. You do want to match your hatch. Now, one of the other things we can talk about is wire. So action, every bait has its action. Some have more, some have less.
Right.
Here's one of the areas that like a lot of guys talk about killing out their bait, make sure it don't roll. If you've ever watched a bait ball, I mean, don't get me wrong, they're not turning upside down.
Right.
But I mean, it sure looks like it. So,
they're flipping and making splashes and all kinds of crazy
stuff. And I'm sure
stuff.
if that thing's kind of spinning through the water, I'm sure that bass isn't looking at it going, no, man, I'm not eating that. Them fish are swimming upside down, bro. Nah, I ain't eating that. No, it's going to make it look more realistic.
Right. They want it more.
Look at a bait ball just, doing
it's
this
all
number.
In the mixture.
Yeah. So when you think about it from that aspect, you think about it, when do you want a more subtle bait? When it's colder, right?
Right.
When do you want a bait that's more, got a little more action? As
vibrant.
Up,
yeah.
Right. And then, of course, it goes the exact opposite. Winter and summer, you got more subtle because, they don't feed as much.
Which a lot of people don't get that. A lot of people think that summer equals even more, I think you really got to be into fishing when you realize, okay, summer weather is almost exactly like winter fishing in a lot of ways, especially for southern states.
They're a little more active, than winter, but still, they're still, as you get later into that, like I know around here, that September, even October for us is still, summer. And I guarantee it is for you down there. That's some of the toughest fishing of the year right there, that September, October.
Right. You get it. They just don't want to bite anything.
Sorry, I'm double checking. I thought I seen somebody outside.
All good.
But so the thing of it is, I even paid close attention. I had a guy, I was fishing a BFL as a co-angler, and this guy on Dale Hollow, pulled in 20 pounds of largemouth. won the tournament, you know, and I was fishing off the back of his boat, and I really paid attention at the baits he was using. So even baits, like what's the first bait that everybody wants to stick on an A-rig? And it's that high-tech style rib swim bait.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to say that every rib swim bait is created equal. You know, the rage swimmers don't have as much movement as the Kitex, but they still have a very thin tail at the end, wide boot, and so they have a very wide
kick. Yeah.
So now let's go over on the other end of the spectrum, and we're going to talk about like the Reaction Innovation skinny dippers, a much more subtle action. So you got to kind of take into account the fish and the time of year. A swim bait, and I love listening. There's like jigs and swim baits. That's my jam.
That's your jam. That's what you go to.
Yeah, and so when you talk about swim baits, I throw a single Kitex during the wintertime a lot.
Okay.
And the reason I throw that single Kitex in the wintertime is because as that water is cold, that bait, yes, all plastic stiffens, but at the same time, as it stiffens, it's got such a wide movement that you get that nice fluttering tail. So when you're reeling it real slow, you have a nice action. If you ever see bass or bait fish, bluegill in cold weather, they almost fan when they're moving.
They're like,
And so in warm water, it's just a shimmy.
More it's like,
yeah. It's almost like their tail doesn't even move. It's almost like it comes from their body.
You don't even know. It's like you see them move and you're like, where did you even come from?
Yeah, exactly. So even the baits, even the baits as it warms, you want to cut down on the action because you're going to pick up on the speed. So as it's cold, like right now through about the mid 50s, I might throw a Kitex, right?
Okay.
Or if it's dirtier water, I might throw a Kitex on my A-rig because I'm going to get a little wider action, maybe a little more thump in the water. But if I'm fishing clearer water, and especially if I'm fishing the difference between spots and smallmouth and largemouth.
Right.
A largemouth, they're like me. All right. They're fat. They're going to hide in a tree. They're going to be waiting. We ain't chasing nothing.
Right. They're going to wait till it comes to them and they just going to sneak up.
Then we're going to come out. We're going to be like,
ah! They have that burst of energy all at once. And that's, one of the things about largemouth. They think about their meal before they bite it. They really do. And I know that doesn't seem because they do you have reaction bait. You have reaction strikes, which is just, you pissed them off and they just grab it. But the other half of the time is they're sitting there, they look at what they're about to think and they think about it before they just engulf it.
Yeah. And the difference between them and a spotted bass and a smallmouth, bass and a smallmouth, they're always pissed off.
Yeah, see, that's mad. The thing. I can't wait to fish for them because I'm so like, I'm not that I know everything about largemouth, but it's just going to be fun to add that extra thinking process and more of just the differences between the actual fish.
Yeah, and so that's what I'm saying. Like I'll go with brighter colors.
Yeah.
On especially earlier in the year, brighter colors. I always work earlier in the year, dirtier water. I like if I'm fishing for smallmouth or spots, I'm gonna throw brighter colors, and then like off colors like electric blue chartreuse.
Okay.
That sort of stuff. That really kind of crazy,
the bright stuff.
Yeah, that crazy color. Brown back, chartreuse belly, that sort of stuff.
Okay.
Now, I've got a video where I get clocked fishing for largemouth doing the same thing. But the reason why I think they hit it, the lake was dirty, the wind was howling. So you had a double. You had this normally, clear water, and clear water fish, bass, smallmouth, spots, it don't matter.
Right.
They are conditioned to feed by sight.
Right.
So they don't use their lateral line nearly as much.
Right. I have heard that.
They're dumb. When it dirties up and it gets windy, they're dumb.
Yeah, it's like people in the South when we get a blizzard or something, we don't know how to act down here. I'll just fess up about it, you know what I mean? Let me just be real. I mean, we get too much snow down here and everybody just goes a little dumb.
But yeah, so if you fish clear water and it dirties up, I mean, you just got to be like, oh, they're stupid today. I'm catching them.
But that's not always good, because even when they're dumb, they can almost be not too dumb, but almost too hesitant sometimes to want to bite something, because they're almost like, I don't even know what to do right now.
Yeah. So, you normally it takes a day or two for them to kind of go, oh, okay, I think I got this under control.
I think I understand.
Yeah. It's like, there goes something. Oh no, I've been
that was the wrong thing to bite.
Yeah.
You can almost take advantage of it. You got to get them on the right dumb day.
But yeah. So, but to me, you really got to think about, you're fishing that clear water, again, just like a spinnerbait, you got a nice overcast, maybe just a little ripple on the water. Pick up that wide or sight flash, or maybe, a Tennessee shad in some sort of bait that doesn't necessarily have a lot of action. I can't remember what it is. Kitech makes another one. It's something minnow or something. I can't even remember. I can see it in my head plain as day, but Strike King makes a bunch of them.
Now, what about throwing some sort of soft plastic jerk bait on there?
And that's actually really great.
Yeah.
During the summer. Believe
me. Okay.
Because you get a subtle, and especially in clear water, you get this super subtle action. Grubs are great too. So like, you were talking about throwing from the bank on that small one. Grubs.
On an A-rig?
Yes. Huh. You wouldn't believe how good they are.
How do you rig them? Like just
you just pretty much have to expose hook those, like if you get some of the fat Alberts, I think they're called, from like Zoom or whatever. But yeah, grubs are great.
That's interesting. I've never even thought about throwing anything but a paddle tail or a swim bait of some sort of.
Yep.
I'd have to try. It's always fun to experiment. That's always one of those fun things, because you're initially trying to just imitate some sort of bait fish. So they got plenty of things out there now. You got for example, the 10,000 fish, the Yoda worm. That's something a little different. It's like that ripply body, and it's similar to that Riot Baits beaver. I like that one. I've been using that one more recently. So, I mean, you can try just about anything, because it has similar to kind of a bait fish, but just a different profile, especially if you're doing like bluegill, they're fatter. So they're not going to necessarily be looking for a slimmer body. They're looking for something a little thicker to what they're used to.
Yep.
So,
and I mean, that's the whole deal, and that's what I'm talking about when I talk about action. Match the action to the conditions and to the fish that you're fishing,
Right.
And that even goes back to, like, we're talking about the Shane's bait. So if I'm on the boat, I'm throwing the bigger Shane's bait. I know that A-rig, I know the wire is softer. And generally the two that I use is the Flash Mob Junior and the Shane's bait, whatever it is, Dominator or something like that.
I think I was looking at the Flash Mob today, actually, but yeah.
Yeah. And so that Shane's bait is really going to have a lot of flex.
Okay.
So when I'm reeling, I'm generally going to give it a quick reel or just a slight tug of the rod tip, and that bait's going to really come together and come back out. It's going to flare. Now with a Flash Mob Junior, you're not going to get that much movement. So that's generally when, I'm fishing number one, I'm fishing heavier baits, I'm fishing deeper, and I'm fishing around a lot of large baits.
And is that because the wire's thicker on it?
Exactly.
Okay, that's what I was wondering, because if the action's not as flex, I'm just, just wondering if that's where so the wire affects the action of the actual A-rig too.
Yes.
Okay.
Even Strike King even makes one that's made out of titanium wire. I'm not a huge fan of it, but I mean, it's like crazy.
Oh, so you're looking for a lot of action in that.
Yeah.
I mean, you never know. That could, that might be different on a different kind of fish or something, that likes that kind of action out of a bait fish.
Yeah. But, well, I mean, I like it. And actually, it's great for smallmouth. I've seen Zona use it a lot up on the Great Lakes. Now, here's the bad thing. Instead of it being like this and then the main wire, so you've got 2, 2, 1.
Right.
It's like this. So, your head, if you can only use 2 hooks or 3 hooks, like in Tennessee, it kind of makes it
wobbly.
And the head doesn't matter 1 ounce, I know, but it just kind of bugs me that I got this head.
I mean, I can get that. You're used to it swimming a certain way, and you kind of.
and again, it goes back to the same exact thing, blah, 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 like it matters if it's rolling, but, it just, I don't know why, it's got a really big head on it too. So it's just swimming sideways. It's just like, I don't think.
Yeah. I mean, some companies just, some companies make good ones. Some make interesting ones, I guess.
Now it's a good one. Like
if it works, it's maybe they want that kind. Who knows? Like sometimes the bass want that weird looking action.
Now in Virginia, if I'm fishing in Virginia, I actually do throw it quite a bit. I've got several of them, but I can use 5 wire or 5 hooks in Virginia. So
you can balance it better. See, that's where when you're in a state like me in Georgia or any of those states where you don't really have to worry about it, you can actually use it to your advantage in that aspect. Not even like you're trying to, make a goal to catch more fish. It's gonna you can balance it better when you can use weight to your advantage in that. So that makes sense. I was gonna ask now when it comes to the bait itself, you were naming off the colors and things like that. Do you throw all of the same color all at once? Do you change up the colors that you use? Because I know it's different per person. Some people will use a different pattern on the bottom and then a different ones up here, or different sizes even. Do you do different, bigger ones on the bottom, smaller ones on top?
I have tried every single way you can do it.
Yeah.
And, I have put different colors, and tried to see. I swear, I don't think it matters one bit.
No, okay. That's good to hear. We want to hear it. Yeah, I want to know what works.
Generally, I just grab whatever colors and throw them on there. Every once in a while, like I know guys that swear. Now, it probably does get a bigger bite, to throw, if you're throwing 3.3s or 3.8s, and you want to throw like a 6-inch, back there, as like a chase bait, I could 100% see, that maybe getting a big bite. But I've done it a ton, and I just can't really.
Hookup ratio is not that big of a difference.
I don't think it's that big of a difference. I think if they react to it, they react to it, and it doesn't matter. I mean, I just really do.
I mean, I know that a lot of people who, especially when you have a hook, a quantity of matter, if you can only have so many hooks that are actually out there, I feel like that's something that a lot of people would try to point out, is that when you only can use maybe 3 hooks or 2 hooks or I'm not sure if there's a minimum. I know it's generally about 3 hooks is like the average in most areas. A lot of the times they'll say that they want to put on the dummy hooks up top, they'll make them smaller just because it drives and it could just be the angler for that matter. I'm not sure that, from what people have experienced, they put a bigger profile on the actual hooks because bass is typically looking for that bigger meal. So they just kind of void out the dummy hooks because you don't want them to bite the dummy. So that's something to I mean, it makes sense.
But I will tell you 90% of the time, and I believe this wholeheartedly. 90% of the time when people are like, I guarantee if you could put a camera on their line, and they're like, oh, he's biting the dummy. I guarantee he's not. Now he might actually bite the dummy. Maybe. But generally what they do is they'll run through that bait ball.
And they get the one at the bottom.
Feel. Yeah. Well, or a lot of times
in the middle,
they'll run through. They'll just run through trying to stun them. So they'll just run through and they'll just miss. And
so they'll just run through them in general. So it's like they're not. Do you think they're really singling out one of them, or they're just kind of swatting at it, getting what they can get?
Exactly. They're just ramming them, trying to kind of get one dazed. Because and the reason why I think this is because I fish swim baits a lot, like the 6 and 7 inch soft plastic swim baits, ledge fishing. So 20, 30, 40 foot deep.
It's good fishing.
So what you'll do is you'll find this school, you'll pull up, you'll make a cast, completely over the school, and then you'll start reeling real slow because you want that swim bait to stay about a foot off the bottom. And so you reel real slow, and that bait will come through, and then all of a sudden you'll feel boom, boom, boom.
Nice.
Boom. And so you can't, because as soon as you swing, all the fish will turn off of it.
Right.
So you have to reel until you feel weight, until you feel the fish has hit it. And what they'll do is they'll come up beside of that and they'll just ram.
Yeah, and they'll take the whole thing in, and that's when you know it is taken.
Well, no, I mean they'll miss it. So those first hits, you're just feeling them ramming into the side of it, just going bam, 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 bam.
Trying to like knock it out, essentially. They're trying to make it slow.
Yeah. They're trying to kill it.
Yeah.
And so something that I've come up with is I actually keep a Strike King. Oh, what is it called? It's like their the reason why I like it is because it's really heavy with salt, but it's kind of like their Fluke caffeine shad or something like that.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And so what I like about that is I'll keep that on an 1/8 ounce belly weight, and I use it as a follow-up bait. So if they don't eat my swim bait, they're just knocking the fire out of it as it comes back. I'll put that down. I'll give it about a 5 count. I'll throw it out there about 20 feet and just let it fall.
Yeah.
And then just twitch it up. Bam, they kill it every time.
Because that belly weight too, it has that wobble when it comes down, you know, a lot of the times that in action, a lot of the time can mean a lot. Like that can literally mean the difference between a bite and not a bite. And that, you know, that action means everything. Because then at that point, I guess I would assume maybe they think they finally killed it because it's got that action or something, you know, or they finally got, you know.
Fish are smart enough, bass are smart enough, but they're still pretty stupid.
Yeah, right.
So even though that bait has come out of the water, they've turned back around. You throw that back out there, and they see this dead,
looking dead thing, and it's like, it's an easier target.
Oh man, we did get it. How we messed that up?
Something like that. I mean, usually it's kind of fascinating to watch how one thing will work. Yeah,
it's the same premise as frog fishing. You know, if you're using a frog and you're working it over the top, and they come up and hit it. What do you always hear? Throw something back in there.
Oh, or I've heard a lot of times wait. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, if they hit it and knock that frog out, you have a follow-up bait to drop in that hole that they just blew up, and you'll normally catch the fish. They're trying to kill whatever that is.
Right. Yeah.
It sinks to the bottom, or they're naturally, thinking that a lot of times it's not even a frog, but that's a bluegill up there. And when they hit it, they expect it to kind of drop down.
Right after they knock it, that's what, gets on its side and it goes down. That's one of the big reasons why I love lipless crankbaits, because of the way they wobble when you pull it up and then it wobbles back down. There's just something about that right in the middle of a bait ball, But
that's, going back to the A-rig, I mean, that's kind of what's happening, because I promise you, when you're pulling, over the top of a tree, there's multiple fish in there, and competition is what really gets the bass going. So if there's more than one, they're probably going through a couple of them swatting at it. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't believe, I mean, you're saying, and I know a lot of people are going, oh, there's no way they're running through all those hooks and not getting hooked.
No, you'd be shocked. I've seen
on a jerk bait. How many times have you been like, man, he knocked the piss out of that?
Yeah.
How did he, all them hooks? How?
Right. Treble hooks, and then so crazy.
Those bass, man, they're little Houdinis most of the time.
And it's kind of crazy, because I think everybody, when you throw an A-rig, one of the things people want to do is to catch more than one bass. And so ideally, the reason why they do catch more than one bass is because the way they're hunting it, and it is competition, especially when you're coming into the bigger times when they're trying to feed and they have to compete. They have to feed up for the other seasons that are to come. And so, like, you get those competing bass, and that's why you will catch more than one on an A-rig, because you're literally mimicking a whole little school. So you get one coming at you, you're more than likely, is there like a method or a way to like keep it to where you might get more than one? Is there any way to really up your chances besides, sonar and maps or anything like that?
So there's actually a good way to be able to catch a duck. And this is what I tell people. Number one, use lighter wire hooks. Don't swing.
Okay.
So when the fish comes up and eat it, when you just lean, just almost like a drop shot, you just lean into it.
Okay.
And keep reeling at the same speed. Don't change speed. Use that lighter wire hook, and it'll set that hook itself on the bass. And as you're reeling, you don't change speed, because remember what I said, when I'm throwing that swim bait during the summer, if they hit it and I swing at them before they actually have it, what do? They're like, nope,
yeah,
that ain't real.
they go away from it.
So you just lean in and keep reeling. And if there's another one with them, they get competitive.
Yeah.
So they think that bass is eating or still
getting
trying
on that whole school to itself.
There you go. And so another bass will come up and all of a sudden you'll feel it. Boom.
Dang. Yeah, that's just like fascinating to think about. Even if they're little, I want to get out there and do that, because even if they're little fish, I just want to be able to be like, I've caught 2 fish at once. I've never done it, and it's like one of those bucket lists,
I'll tell you the funniest story. So like I hadn't started doing YouTube or anything. That was like the farthest thing from my mind. And, I was, the A-rig had just exploded onto the scene. So I went out, bought me a couple, go out to this little lake that I grew up fishing, kind of my little test lake.
I think we all have one.
Yeah. And, so I'm out there and I'm in this little ditch area, this little, holler, as we call them.
Yeah.
And, there's a, it's a ditch. It's not a creek running in all the time. And there's a stick up in the back where a tree had fallen and, the branches on the bottom of it sticking up. And I'm like, I guarantee there's some there. So I take that A-rig and I throw it out there past that tree. I'm reeling it real slow. And all of a sudden I feel one hit it. I'm like, oh man, this is a good one.
Oh.
I get it in, and it wasn't big ones, but they were both, about 14 inch smallmouth, and I caught 2 smallmouth at the same time. That was the first catch on an A-rig.
Wow. See, that would be like the coolest. That's such a cool story, because like it's the first time you threw it. That would like hook, I feel like that would hook anybody on a rig. But first time I used it, I caught 2 fish. Yep. Yeah. You got me hooked, Oh,
listen, and went that day, and what was I throwing? Because I knew I was going to throw it around a lot of wood.
Yeah.
Belly hook.
The belly weighted it. Yeah. See, I'm like, I never, it makes sense. I just never really would have thought about it. And I mean, of course I've thought about throwing EWGs and I've wondered, I just haven't ever applied it. So it's like good to have like the reinforcement of like you telling me that, because I've thought about putting other kinds of hooks and how can you make your profile more weedless, because it's so key.
I always tell people, I'm like, listen, I'm not one of those people that'll ever tell anybody you're doing it wrong. Listen, if you're catching fish in 10 foot of water on a Carolina rig buzz bait, it's right. You know why it's right? Because the fish are telling you it's right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. The only thing on earth that's going to tell you you're fishing wrong is the fish.
Right.
Otherwise, tell everybody else to take a flying leap.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree 100%, because like you got different, you just can't say something's not going to work because there's too much out there saying it will work. You know what I mean? It's a matter of, and in every video, especially if anybody's really sat through all of them at this point, I've always sat there and said, it always depends on you and how it feels in your hands, because we can go over a generic profile, right? We can go over the rod, we can go over the reel, we can go over the line, the weights and all that, but it's going to really depend on you. You might throw what was your go-to rod? You said something about a 7.6 and a heavy, right?
So now my go-to, again, from a boat, my go-to setup is I've actually got 2 of them. So I've got one that is for the lighter, A-rigs. And for me, again, from the boat, that's going to be like all 1/8 ounce. On the other, it might be 1/8 ounce with a couple of 1/4 ounce heads in there, maybe even a 1/2 ounce in the middle. So I'm going to fish real deep with that.
Right.
But generally, I'm going to throw like a 7-11. I want a long, and I know from the bank, that's you're not going to throw a 7-11.
See, the thing is I have a 7-10, and I it's just so long. I don't ever take it out. I have one. I have a 7-10. It's like perfect for, and again, me going with what people generically say about an A-rig from a boat, and that's why I try to put that emphasis there, because it's so different. But I do have a 7-10, and I don't hardly use it because
now
it's kind of unrealistic.
And so, we were talking about reel speeds. I was saying from the bank, I think you really want like a higher reel speed of 6.5. I'd even recommend, like, Lose is one of the only ones that, again, not sponsored, but Lose is one of the only ones that actually has a 6.8. And I think that is such a great reel speed. But again, for me,
right.
I actually play bass and drums too.
Oh, nice.
So I actually know, every person kind of has a natural rhythm. Yeah, some people, it's real easy for them to slow down. So like they can throw an 8, just grind it all that. I'm not that guy. Yeah. Like when I'm rolling, I'm like this. This is my natural
cadence. You know your
cadence.
natural beat. I've played the violin. I played it for 12 years. Go. I still have one, but I understand your natural rhythm.
Exactly. Your natural rhythm. My rhythm is, a pretty good clip. So when I'm throwing moving baits, especially A-rigs, you do want to throw them slow and low. So for me, I'm throwing like a 5 and a 6.3, 6.5. I'm in that area, 5.5, 6.5. From the bank, though, you might want to push that up to a 7 because remember, you're fishing uphill.
You're trying to come up, so you need more speed. Makes sense.
So you're going to throw it out there, let it sink to the bottom, hop it up, and then real. Always keep that rod tip a little bit high. That I wouldn't even keep it at 9, like 9.30.
Right, like a little bit here, somewhere in the middle of 9 and 10.
Exactly. And so keep that kind of there and keep that bait coming upwards, because that rod tip, if it's out here like this, that bait's going to have a natural pendulum up, so that's what I would do. Definitely lighten up like crazy.
As much as you can. Yeah. I definitely have a whole, I'm going to have to take a before and after almost of how I'm going to rig this thing the way I have it rigged now. And then we're going to call it the bank A-rig or something. Like this is just like a whole nother.
Do this for me. So try this out. Go out, put some hooks on there and just rig it the way you were going to rig it at first and throw it. Like, I don't want you to lose one.
I've done it. I've already thrown it. I'm not having any luck. I've tried already. That's the problem I think I've just got it all wrong.
And then go out there and try it the way we were talking about it tonight. And then I want you got to message me and put it in a video.
Oh, buddy, trust me. You can be like, Bassgeek is full of BS.
You can be like, Bassgeek is either full of BS on this or he was like he was right. Like,
I'm
betting I'm right.
I got a feeling you're right too, truthfully, just because, we've talked about it, how we're both kind of like on that nerd, that geeky side of things, especially with the intricacy of it. And everything you've said with a lighter wire and the flamboyant, the buoyancy that you want out of something versus,
well, even the heavier line, you got to think about line. So when I'm fishing, like, swim baits, like I want a sinking line, I want fluorocarbon when I'm fishing. Now, as I've gotten, and I think from the bank, I'd probably always fish mono because it does float.
I have mono on there. I have 20-pound mono actually on mine.
That's perfect.
And you said 20 pounds. So that's what I was going to ask. Was it the same for the boat and the bank?
Yeah. For in that aspect, I go to, like, I might go down like super clear, and I know I'm not going to have a lot of wind. I might go down to 15, and now I'm going to fish fluorocarbon. But again, I'm fishing down.
Right.
So, and here's the biggest reason for that: line diameter too. So I'm going to be trying to get shallow and go deep.
Right.
90% of the time. You're going to be the exact opposite.
The opposite.
You're going to throw deeper. So that's easy. You're going to throw it out there, let it sink to the bottom, give it a quick snap up, just, 1 hour.
Yeah.
From like 9 to 10.
All right.
Snap it up so it comes up off the bottom, and then you're going to start reeling, and you're going to have to get faster as it comes to you. I'm doing the exact opposite. I'm getting slower as it comes to me.
It's crazy the difference. It's one of the this is one of those rigs that there really is a big difference. Some rigs, are like the exact same. You throw them the same, you throw them, pitch them, do them all that. This one is a lot different, as far as depending on how you're throwing it and where you're throwing it. And I'm glad we're covering both aspects for sure, because like you just said, if I were to go out there and throw it the way you would do it from a boat, I'd be using the wrong line, the wrong weight, the wrong hooks. I'd be using everything wrong, and I would never want to use it again. And I think that's, like I said earlier, that's just one of those things I think bank anglers have really just turned away from the A-rig because of that. It's not meant for a bank. It's just, people will tell you it's just not meant for bank anglers. And I have that little bit of a protest in me where I'm like, there's no way. I want to make it work for me somehow. So I'm going to go out and try that. And what's funny is I bought some tungsten belly weights today at a 1/4 ounce. They might be a little heavy, but we'll make it work.
That's a little heavy. Yeah. That's a little heavy.
Maybe if I only use 2.
I don't know. Because that's
still a little heavy. Okay. I might have to go back and get an 1/8 of an ounce.
I would start like super lightweight. like I'd go find that 1/8 or that 3/16.
3/16 even. I'll have to go.
Yeah.
I mean, I can go back. I'm going back tomorrow because I actually got pants and they were the wrong size. So I have to go back tomorrow. It's an excuse to go back, and I'll just go buy some more. But yeah, I'll get some. Now you got my mind churning and wanting to do this. Because
good.
Yeah, I mean, the A-rig's one of those ones I've been super excited for about a year. The moment I really learned about it, I've always wanted to go out and catch something on it. And because I've always wanted to catch something with 2 fish like that, to me, the A-rig has the most success rate for you having the higher chances of that.
Now, I will say this too. Match the hatch as far as colors. So my colors, I might be throwing a lot of different, shad. I'm generally talking shad.
Yeah.
If you're throwing in ponds, though, you might want to throw something that's like a watermelon red or something that mimics a crappie or
a bluegill.
A bluegill. Even put just a tiny, like I know around here, our smaller bluegill in the spring, just on the very tip of the tail, they get this little chartreuse, little
a hint. Oh, some around here have like this beautiful purple and blue, and then they get this big red, orange breast. I mean, they're beautiful fish when they get to full size.
Yeah, but now you want to remember, you want to mimic those smaller ones because you're going to be throwing those smaller baits.
Yeah.
So sometimes they won't have as much color, or you can put just a little bit of chartreuse on the tail. And like I said, I don't dip it way up, but I'll actually outline.
Do you like put it in the top of the dip instead?
Yeah, I like pins. So that way I can color exactly what I want.
That makes sense. Yeah. See, I have the garlic dip, the standard glow or whatever. That makes sense. I'll have to try the pins too. But so what was I gonna ask? As far as the reel goes, you talked about speed. Is there a certain like size? I know that it kind of matters. There are certain reels that are more made for A-rigs.
Especially from the bank, you're fishing a lighter. You get away with about whatever your favorite reel is. You're not going to be throwing the weight. Generally, if I'm throwing, I do like a little heavier duty reel. So I like the BB1 Pro from Lew's. I like the oh God, what is the Super Duty? A whole lot. That's a good one. They're just made a little tougher because like I've used like the Aura winches from Abu Garcia. They're great, like $99, like cheap. But it ended up flexing the shaft on them. So just a little too much. They're great for like crankbaits and stuff, but it just wasn't made for that.
It's not tough enough. So you want sometimes, if you're throwing an A-rig, and especially if you're throwing it frequently and heavier, I guess. So if you're throwing it from a boat and you're throwing it heavier, I think it matters a little bit more. But, with this bank angling side of things, we may be able to just throw it, because you are throwing, I feel like weight makes the biggest difference as far as the kind of reel that you're going to be using and the matter of frequency. Because if you're doing it a lot, you want something that's going to be able to withstand it. It's going to take a beating. It's just how that is. You want something that can take a beating, that can take the weight, the pull. Yeah. I mean, all of it matters.
Exactly. And that's why we were talking about earlier, if you really go light, like if you're fishing a shallow pond, I mean, you probably.
Oh, you froze on me. Uh-oh.
Heck, every rod.
Hold on. You froze on me there for a second. You said from a pond. I'm sorry, and then it kind of cut off there.
So if you're fishing even a shallow pond, like we were saying earlier, you may even be able to get away with like a 7-foot medium heavy fast action. Maybe one on the little stiffer side. Every rod company is a little bit different.
Yeah.
You may be able to get away with that. Especially because you're going to really lighten that weight up. Sometimes honestly, you may be able to get away with straight hooks and no weight whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense because, the
baits themselves have weight.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, some of them even put it on the package, how the weight itself will weigh like a 1/4 ounce. You multiply that times 5, you got a pretty decent size.
There you go.
Especially for a bank angler.
Yeah, and you take, like you said, and maybe you put some 3.5s on the bottom or 3.3s and 2.8s on the top. Now you've just killed it out with nothing but swim bait weight.
Just plastics, and the weight is in itself with the whole thing, you know. And speaking of,
I need to patent that. I just came up with that thought.
Right, the weightless A-rig.
There you go. And I mean, it would work. I mean, you know,
I don't see why not. I've thought about that too. I've wondered, you know, I just haven't experimented with it enough because, like I said, I feel like bank anglers in general, we have this almost, I don't know how to explain it. And then that's why I have it's like a resistance that bank anglers have. And I feel like that's why I try to pull towards it more, but I do need to tinker with it more because it's just easy to turn away from it when you throw it and you're like, okay, from here, it just doesn't work as well as it does out on the water. And it's all about the setup.
Well, it's even, you know, from where I live, which is, you know, Northeast Tennessee, you know, I fish a lot of highland reservoirs, you know, all the banks are steep, but now we go just a couple hours south and west to, you know, the Knoxville area where the Tennessee River is. And, you know, they consider, you know, 15, 20 feet to be deep. And, you know, so those guys are throwing A-rigs that are made to be super light. They're throwing those 16-ounce heads way up on big flat areas that, you know, are just super shallow.
And it's more skirting across it versus going deep. You have a lot of the same depth. Yeah.
So if they throw one that's got 1/8-ounce heads all the way around it, they're not going to be very happy.
It's just going to be like, and that's basically what mine's doing. I'm guessing, you know,
like the bottom.
Bringing up too much crap. I did that. It's just, you know, it doesn't come out right. It just doesn't, you know. So you got to make the profile. Yeah, it makes sense now. With the flash on an A-rig, do you like all the blades on there? Do you have a time and a place for when you like it, when you don't like it?
It's all dictated by conditions. Clear water, you know, if you know, for me, I consider clear water like 10 foot or more.
Yeah, you know, absolutely.
Most people are like, oh man, if it's 3 foot, it's clear water, right? But you know, for me, I like it. Let the conditions dictate.
Okay.
If I just feel like I can get an A-rig bite and it's, you know, just a small bit of chop on a sunny day, and I know they're in laydowns or over grass or something like that, you know, I'm going to go more subtle. I'm going to go with that bladeless, and it works, you know, clear water. If I'm in super clear water, but again, I've got maybe a little bit of overcast, not a lot. It's still pretty bright. I'm going to go with a bladeless version. So so there's absolutely times I don't use it near as much because, like I said, I do treat it a lot like a spinner bait. And for me, you know, wind is your friend. You know, you want to throw it in situations where the water's a little dirtier, a little less visibility or something.
So more murky waters tend to lead to more of the blades themselves. Windier days, more blade.
Is there heavier cover? Heavier cover too.
Yeah.
So, you know, you got to remember, if you're throwing it over some grass and it's you know, submergent grass and it's thick, you know, but you can still fish across the top. Yeah, you want all that thump because those bass are still buried up in it.
Okay.
If you're throwing it over like real heavy brush piles, you want that thump because that brush, that cover is still breaking up that profile. Those bass are still in there kind of listening, waiting, and they react right at the last minute as they see it because they're hiding from those bait fish.
That makes sense.
You know, so you know, you just have to kind of weigh it out and play with all the details of it to see, you know, what works best when.
Is there ever a time, and this is just me straight up not knowing, is there ever a time where you ever throw an A-rig with anything but no, I can't think of it. Not Colorado blade, the other one. Willow blade. Is there ever a time? Is it you only throw it with willow blades? Is there any other time? Any other kind of blade?
I've seen some of the Colorado blade ones.
Really?
And
I've never seen it, so I wasn't sure.
I actually seen one just the other day. I don't know who makes it. Like I was looking at it, and I think it was maybe a commercial or something. And I was like, they got Colorado blades on that thing. I'm like, so no, I've never thrown it with anything. I can see how it would give off some more thump. I mean, for me, we would be talking about, if I was going to throw that, we'd have to be talking about a foot or less of visibility.
Yeah, you'd have to have some super pressured situations, or not pressure. Well, I mean, pressured is a term you could use too, I guess. But yeah, typically when you're calling for a Colorado blade, you know, you're talking about murkier water, a bigger thump. You want kind of a more of a presentation.
Yeah, and you're not getting the bait fish profile. The thing about the willow leaf blade is it's a bait.
Right, it's profile. Like that. Yeah.
Now, if you get gold blades, gold Colorados, and you're fishing around bluegill, yes, that might actually be something you want to try, because gold, you know, a bluegill is more round.
Right. Yeah, they have a more round presence to them, you know.
But even then, you know, I could see a Colorado, you know, kind of keeping it up, because you're going to have, you know, more resistance than those willow leaves too.
And it's going to cause more of a whirlwind, whatever you want to call it. It has more of a propeller to it.
Yeah. So you know, there's definitely times when I'm sure it can stand out.
I wonder. That's something I've never even heard of. Like that's why I just kind of looked at it, and you know, I always think of, when you think of spinner baits, there's all kinds of variety. You know, when it comes to, you have different times for the different blades. So I didn't know if that applied to the Alabama rig or not.
Like I said, I just seen one the other day. Excuse me.
No, me too.
I don't even know who made it. I swear I think it was a commercial, but I can't remember.
I have to look into it now. That's something I really have never even thought about that. I just literally looked over at mine. I got it sitting right here. I brought it just in case. But I have it hanging right there, and I just thought about it. There's a lot of things you really can do to an Alabama rig, and I've heard when it comes to how you pull it out, because when you get an A rig in the package, you typically get it all just kind of together. You know, any tips, tricks, or anything like that when you're actually setting it, and you know, when you're pulling it, or you know, I mean, when you're making it pop out a little bit, what's the best way to go about doing that?
The biggest thing to me now, I was watching a guy the other day, and he was coming way down. I mean, way down the rig and bending almost straight out. I don't like that.
No, because doesn't it break easier that way?
Well, I've heard other guys talk about, you know, not bending it right in the head. And I can see that, because, again, most heads are basically epoxy or some sort of, you know, soft plastic something. So I can see coming down just a little bit and bending. But, you know, this guy was bending them straight out. And I was like, yeah, I don't like that. You know, because number one, I like, you know, a bait ball. What is a bait ball? They're tight.
Yeah, they're tight. Circle.
Yeah. Now, I will tell you this. I did a short not too long ago talking about casting, because when you cast that A-rig, it wants to tumble in the air. So, you know, when you fish it like a buzz bait. Okay. So if you have a lot of experience with a buzz bait, stop that thing about 8 inches above the water and pull toward you.
Okay.
And that way it will hit, not wrap as much. It won't foul hook
getting itself
as much. Yeah. And because you'll deal with a lot of that.
Yeah.
But when you cast it out there, just stop it a little early. And then when it hits the water, as it's hitting the water, you know, stop it early, pull it a little bit, and then kind of slow that pull down until it hits the water, so that it's already moving, and then stop and let it.
And that kind of straightens it out too. It gets all the hooks going the right direction.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
Because it wants to tumble. You know, it wants to tumble when you're throwing it through the air. So.
Okay. And you want to keep an overall just kind of an aerodynamic kind of look, because you have like the one in the middle. Yep. And then you have to pull them out. So you're saying not to have them straight out, but more
not far. A good deal is whatever bait you're using, just turn the two on the outside in, and make sure that there's maybe a half inch from it touching the wire.
Okay. So. All right. And yeah. I'm trying to think if there's anything really else to go over. Do you have any other tips or tricks that you were trying to, you know, that you had in mind that you wanted to share with anybody that can kind of, you know?
I mean, I think we've covered it pretty
Yeah,
good.
we've gone over
I mean,
a lot. I really like the belly weighted hook thing. That one's got me hooked the most. So I'm definitely excited. I'm glad we went over that for sure. It's going to change up the game for me. I'm happy I could help
you out with that. So
yeah.
That's awesome.
And the weightless one. I might try that one too, honestly, because
I'm telling you.
Yeah. I'm going to have to try it out. So, but all right. Yeah, I think we've covered it all. We went over the rods, the reels, the lines, the actual baits, and some colorations too. I'm literally trying to go over my head. I do this every time.
You're fine.
But I think we've gone over mostly everything. I would definitely love to do it again. Like you said, you love big swim baits too. So many guys love big swim baits. I want to get more into big swim baits too,
now,
but I can't.
I will say, like, I love big swim baits, but my kind of deal, because I'm more of like a tournament style angler.
Yeah.
Are the soft plastic, like the Shadowlicious,
okay,
the Bastrix, those soft plastic swim baits, the boot tails.
It's its own, and see that I feel like is its own category too. So it's good to have the variety there because it's different between the ones that are jointed and stuff like that. Because you have a lot of guys that are just all about those, and I have a heart. That's one of those other challenges from being from the bank. Other than the concerning factor that it costs so much money, usually with those bigger ones, it's it can be kind of unrealistic because the bass in the ponds that you fish aren't going after something that big a lot of the times. But it's a lot of hearsay. They'll probably still go after it. I have a lot of hesitancy, just like with the A-rig. Now with the A-rig, I'm a little bit more confident. So
they have to go out there and try that. Now, don't get me wrong. I throw like one of my favorites for really just after post-spawn. I like it like right before they really come up on the beds.
Okay.
Is a 10-inch bull shad. She gets nutty crazy.
The bull shad, not the bull gill. The bull shad. I actually have one of those somewhere right here.
Yeah. But now, when I want the big.
The big one. Yeah, I have the little guy. I know what you're talking about though. But those are.
And you get in the right area. The thing about those is you want to throw those when the bass are aggressive. And, you just crank them as fast as you can crank them, and you wouldn't believe what will come up chasing.
Now, is it because they're after the big meal, or are they after it because they, are trying to protect something? Or is it, is it the meal feeding?
For me, the way I've found it to be is like when that bite window opens, it's literally maybe 2 weeks before they actually pull up on the bed. They are ready to top the tank off, and that's what it's about. They're coming after that steak.
Yeah, they're eating. They're wanting something good and juicy. I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I'm gonna have to try that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. But all right, I think, like I said, I think we've covered it all. It's 9:30 my time, which I guess it's 9:30 your time too, right? Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, we're in the same time zone. I've told everybody it's one of those things I have to really like, even when I know somebody's in my own time zone, I still ask just out of habit at this point.
Yeah.
So but I've really appreciated this. It's been a lot of fun. It's been super knowledgeable. Anytime. Like I said, A-rig's one of those ones I'm excited about because bank anglers have such a resistance to it. And I'm a rebel at heart, I think. And I want to try and I want to make what doesn't work. You know what I mean? In that essence. And
it works. Trust me.
It's got to. I feel like I said, it's just, it makes sense on why it would work, especially with the bait ball aspect of it. You just got to do it right according to how you're fishing it, where you're fishing it. There's always a way to tinker with it to make it work for you. I believe that, truthfully. I believe that you can take, and then a lot of people will say this bait, whatever it might be, doesn't work in this season. I have a hard time believing that too. I think you can take a lot of lures and make them work throughout the whole year, just depending on how you actually fish it.
Yeah.
So I think that makes all the difference in the world. But I appreciate you for joining me tonight for sure.
Anytime.
Yeah, we'll have to do it again. Sounds like we'll be going over those big soft plastic swim baits. Those would be fun to go over.
Listen, I can talk swim baits forever.
Let's do it. I'm down to do that sometime too.
To me, most diverse bait on the market.
There you go. Yeah. So there you go. There's like one we're going to have to there's the waiting line now. So now we get to wait and go over that one. I'm all for it. I'm down for it. I like the chit chat. It really, to me, on this too. It really gives the viewers a different side of you, even a lot of the times, because a lot of times if they're viewing the video, they've already seen this side of me. So it's fun to see a different side of Bass Geek. You know, a lot of people the nitty gritty, the real Bass Geek on the other side of it is Mr. Hank. There we go.
Yeah. I always say I'm just a, fat redneck.
Hey,
I don't like redneck. I'm just
like
a
goals
fat
in
country
life.
boy. I'm just a fat country boy that likes fishing and drinking a lot of beer. That's about it.
Hey, it's one of those dreams. A lot of people, it's, Southern life. A lot of people don't realize how great it really can be, deep in the heart of the South, man. But all right, I'm going to let you go. You have fun for the rest of your night. I'm going to go take it easy and probably go pass out because like I was telling you earlier, I'm still struggling with a temperature, which for anybody who doesn't know, now you know I'm struggling with a little bit of a cold, but I toughed it out.
Get some meds in you.
Huh?
Get some meds in you.
Yeah, right. I got to go upstairs, break the fever. Hopefully I'm good, doing all right, but I appreciate you joining me and putting up with me while I sniffled through the whole
Thanks for having me. Hey, well, I had fun in that. I always say, I tell people this all the time, my sign off, the very first thing I start with is, questions or comments in the comment section below. I love to talk fishing. That's not BS. Like I will talk.
This is always fishing. Fun.
Yeah,
it's exactly. It's a lot of fun. And like, I can't wait. I'm going to start doing live eventually. This roadblock with the cold, it really kind of put a bump in everything. I'm wanting to really sit down and figure out how to start doing them live. But I might wait until I have, till I like play all the pre-recorded ones. But then I have like people on the standby right now who are also waiting to have a recording with me. So I'm just kind of like, I'm kind of up in the air because I want to do live. I think live would be great. I think it'll draw more people to it for sure because I want to have a few people in on it. I think that'll be cool. Like have you and like Debo and like Alex and just a bunch of different and have like a whole little powwow. But that'll be like a whole hangout session and that'll be cool. But I'm like I'm big dreams.
Hey, the difference between a dream and a goal is a plan. So
that's true. Hey, wise words. I will hold that one. That's a lesson learned.
I think Abraham Lincoln said that. I don't know.
Yeah, quoted.
Maybe I'm totally wrong.
But I've never heard it. So you quoted it in my book. But all right, man, I'm gonna head upstairs, head to bed. I hope you have a good night. Thank you again for joining me.
I will.
I'll be happy to see you next time. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
All right, man. I'll see you next time.
Bye.
All right, guys, I'm going to leave it there. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Bass Geek, thanks so much for joining me. I can't wait to do it again, and I can't wait to get onto your live. That would be really fun. One of these days, I am going to go live. I promise you. I'm trying to figure that one out. I'm trying to actually be able to fit it into my schedule and be able to consistently do a live. I'm just kind of busy right now. I still got a lot going on. But I really appreciate everybody who watches. If it weren't for you guys, I really wouldn't have a point in doing it other than the simple fact that I enjoy it. I really do. Meeting all these great people and learning all these wonderful things, it's real humbling and it's just kind of awesome. And, with it being spring right now and everything like that, we're getting into it. It's great. But anyway, I'm just babbling on. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, turn on all your notifications so you know when the next video drops. And you guys know how it goes, right? We're out here fishing, we're out here catching, and we're out here really debating on how to use that A-rig. Yeah, no complaints.
Clearwater fish, bass, smallmouth, spots, it don't matter.
Right.
They are conditioned to feed by sight.
Right.
So they don't use their lateral line nearly as much.
Right. I have heard that.
They're dumb. When it dirties up and it gets windy, they're dumb.
Yeah, it's like people in the South when we get a blizzard or something, we don't know how to act down here. I'll just fess up about it, you know what I mean? Let me just be real. I mean, we get too much snow down here and everybody just goes a little dumb.